Sprawdzałaś, to było napisane, że czynne, nie?
Będzie bramka. Można może wejść.
Aha.
No, sprawdzałam, że można było bilety kupić.
Zobaczymy, jak tam jest. No i ludzie siedzą w środku. A gdzie jest ticket? A może tu? Idziemy zobaczyć, czy można bilet kupić. O, tu z tej strony.
Pustych miejsc.
Excuse me, where buy ticket here?
You get a ticket this side.
This side? Alright, cheers.
If you're coming on this one, you need to
Alright. No, jesteśmy w środku na pokładzie. Za chwilę będziemy odpływali. Już startujemy. Co?
Kanał. Czy to tutaj nic nie ma?
No tam z przodu siedzą. Aha. No to idziemy, zmieniamy miejsce. Może sobie zmienić miejsce. To idziemy.
back and plan and we were going to emigrate it and then we just realised
Nie, no nie chcę tam iść. No, zaraz będziemy płynęli, podnosiła będzie nas do góry. Cała aparatura, już się ustawiamy tutaj w kanale. Co?
Później jak usiądziemy, to zmienimy sobie.
Pan już nam wiąże nas tutaj liną do brzegu, żebyśmy nie tańczyli.
you'll release the rope and then we see what through.
Już tamtą rękę wziął. obrócił sobie, to będziesz miał bardziej na tamtą stronę.
Jak rękę.
Dobrze, dobrze.
Oh yeah.
Można tylko troszeczkę tam trzymać, a wywinąć trochę w tą stronę.
Którą? Tam?
Ale w tą stronę trzymać. O, właśnie, jeszcze troszkę.
Hello everybody.
Jeszcze troszkę w tą stronę.
Hello.
So you all enjoyed that?
Yeah.
Are we not alone?
Is there any more?
Welcome. Well, I'd love to say sunny Falkirk, but the sun's gone away and it's cold now. I'm Jill, I'm your skipper. My lovely crew member at the back there is Jim. He's training to be a skipper. Give him a leave and I'm going to have. I've got a couple of hours to What we're going to do is take you up onto the wheel. Tell you the 10 minutes along that aqueduct. Do the Castle Tunnel to the south basin. We're going to turn and come back down again. Now, as we leave the gondola at the top, we're going to put it on your own. That will tell you a lot about the field, what's here, other wee bits and pieces. Coming back down, I'll come back on. The view from the top, you can see up to 60 miles away. So I'll point out some landmarks, some bits and pieces to you. Talk about the wheel a wee bit more. And if anybody's got any questions, just ask. If I can't answer them, I just make it up. I don't know any difference, honestly. Couple of wee tips. Just say something happened up here. If something was to happen. And I'm going to take the boat over to site to moor up, and you have to evacuate. All I ask is one thing, and it's really, really important. Please get off the side that we're tying up to. Because I ain't coming in after you, believe me. Also, it could be that cold up here, I could be driving along, I could hit an iceberg, and the boat might go down. What are you going to do? All you're going to do, just stay in your seats and lift your feet a wee bit. That's all that would get wet is your wee toes. It's only 5.5 feet deep out there, and the boat has a draft of nearly 5.5 in the water. So we'll be fine. The last one is the main one though. Don't bother looking under your seats, around the boat, and in those cupboards for your life jackets. Yeah, I rolled 2 life jackets on board. Guess who's got them? That's only because we're outside working on the motor, you're deep safe inside, nothing's going on. So if something does, you've got 6 emergency exits. Door come on, door opposite, 2 at the back there, or 2 secondary doors at the front there, and our 2 captain door at the back there as well. Don't feel as though you're grounded to your seats. You can get up, walk about, take photographs. All I ask is please do not put your heads or cameras out the door or the window. Because I've got cameras around the boat and I really need to see where I'm going. And especially that one at the front, that is my main one. So please do not put your heads out that door as well. You can go up to the door to take your photo, but don't go out it. Other than that, I'll let you enjoy the view. Thank you.
Thank you.
Troszeczkę wejść do wody.
W tą stronę?
Tak, w tą stronę, minimalnie. Jeszcze, tak żeby było widać. To już. Jeszcze 16 minut? Czy 6 minut?
Już nas podnosi do góry. Tutaj pani nam wszystko opowiedziała, że są tylko 2 kamizelki.
2 kamizelki.
Na całej pokładce 2 kamizelki. No. Widzicie, jak się unosimy już tutaj? Już jedziemy do góry.
40 metrów. Do góry?
Nie wiem. Ale jak się zepsuje mechanizm podnoszący, to zadzwoń do pracy, że teraz nie będzie, bo w windzie podnosić.
To jest jedyna taka winda na świecie
Aha.
dla statków umożliwiająca pokonanie różnicy wysokości pomiędzy kanałami.
Jedyna na świecie?
Jedyna na świecie.
Zobaczcie, już jak jesteśmy wysoko.
Istniała od 2002 roku. Różnica poziomu wody pomiędzy nimi wynosi 24 metry.
O, proszę.
Oba kanały łączy system 11 śluz.
No już się zbliżamy do szczytu możliwości windy. Zaraz wpłyniemy do kanału. No, powiem, jest to atrakcja. Zobaczcie, jak wysoko jesteśmy już.
Koło ma 35 metrów średnicy i składa się z dwóch lewej granic, każdy o wydźwięku 15 metrów. Architekt nadal można kształt podwójnego topora, jak to wydaje się projektowi
Dorota wam tutaj opowiada na tym historii.
No to wszystko.
Przeciwwaga.
Tyle samo, jak trzeba wydecydować o tym tajemnikach elektrycznych.
Informacje. Zaraz będziemy wpływali do kanału. Na razie mamy czerwone światło. A, no tak. Co? Czekaj, ja przejdę. Jesteśmy tak wysoko. No, efekt jest niemożliwy. Nie, ale to być. No, udało się, bezpiecznie
For the next
dopłynęliśmy do
half
góry.
an hour or so, we'll be
Teraz
up here,
popłyniemy.
27 meters above our starting point on the Forth and Clyde Canal. We're now moving at 4 miles an hour over the reinforced concrete aqueduct. There's just over 100 meters between here and the tunnel, dead ahead of us. We'll go right through that and turn around before heading back and taking a look at the view that's right behind you now.
No i już teraz będziemy się połączyliśmy z tamtym kanałem i będziemy teraz spływali już do kanału na górze.
Archimedes and Antonine. Did you see which one you are on today when you got on? Those special names were chosen for a reason.
Płyniemy
They're both important
Mamy
parts of
zielone
the wheel's
światło.
identity.
i płyniemy. No jest to atrakcja niesamowita.
He was a scholar and mathematician in ancient Greece. He discovered something that's very important for the operation of the wheel.
Any floating object displaces its own weight of fluid.
Okay, that might need a bit of explanation. Archimedes' principle says that when an object is placed in water, for example, the boat you are sitting in now, it displaces its exact own weight in water. The amount of water that moves out of the way to make room for us is equal in weight to the boat itself. That might sound quite simple, but it's actually really important for the smooth operation of the Falkirk Wheel. Each gondola, that's the big tub of water we just travelled up in, holds 250 tons of water. When our boat sailed in, we pushed about 60 tons of water. That was the weight of the boat and its fuel and all the people in it, out meaning that the gondola then had 190 tons of water and 60 tons of boat in it. So, the contents of the gondola still weigh 250 tons. The clever part is that the other gondola will also weigh exactly 250 tons as well. We are evenly balanced with them. And that means that it only takes a tiny bit of energy to get us moving around the central core of the wheel. We're balancing each other out. So while you might think it would take a lot of energy to lift 250 tons of steel, water boat as even you, up to 27 meters we just came, it actually took just a small push. About the same amount of energy as boiling 8 electric kettles. That's enough for a cup of tea, each for everyone on the boat. We haven't got time for a cuppa now, but you can get one down at the visitor centre afterwards while we watch the wheel go round again. Another really clever part of the wheel are the cogs. You can't see them as they're inside the working box, but these huge jagged wheels and sensors stop us from tipping over as we move up and down around the wheel. When the designers were putting the plans for the Falkirk Wheel together, they were confident it would work on paper, but they weren't exactly sure. This is the first rotating boat lift in the world after all. So to test their theory out, they built a small-scale model out of Lego to see how it went. Fortunately, the principle worked and the design was commissioned. As we get close to the tunnel ahead, you'll note that we're in a rather charming landscape. At some times of the year, the pool to your left is home to herons. The canal system stretching across Scotland is home to over 30 varieties of aquatic plants, 15 species of mollusks, over 30 types of water flea, and even freshwater sponges. Plus the ducks and swans. It's been known for fish to swim into the gondola at the bottom and travel up to the Union Canal with us. Of course, they displace their own weight too.
Pływali
And there are footpaths here as well, leading up into the woods.
Także będzie
You can
trochę
walk
ciemno.
along these later if you like.
Zobaczymy, jak to tutaj nam pokaże.
as we enter the tunnel, you'll see a sign reading Rock Castle Tunnel. Or castle. You can't see a castle in here. That's because we're about to travel underneath it. Well, almost. There's a Roman Catholic fort on the hill really quite close by. It was placed there around the year 143 AD as part of a network of military bases built by the Romans to defend the area. These forts were built on a wall,
Oświetlone łączenie zielonym z lampkami.
For a lot of its distance, this system of forts and walls
Fajna sprawa.
the east and west sides of the country. Only the canal was designed to make transport and communication across the country easy. The castle forts were built by the military to control people and keep them out of the northern border of what was then the Roman Empire. Now you'll always certainly be aware of another Roman emperor, best known for his role in northern England. The wall above you now wasn't
Jak
built
Dorota wcześniej powiedziała, jest to jedyna atrakcja na świecie.
during the reign of Emperor Antoninus Pius. It's known as the Antonine Wall, and that's the name of our other boat, Antonine.
Jest to bardzo wąsko, także
Skip forward
nasza łódź
1600 years,
odbija się od brzegu do brzegu.
instead of being a conflict zone, was one of rapid industrial expansion. The fourth incline canal, that's the one behind us at the bottom of the list, was started in the 1770s and probably originally surveyed by John Sweeten. It opened in 1790 and quickly became one of the most important trading and transport links across Scotland. It was the world's first sea-to-sea ship canal, joining the River Clyde and Glasgow in the west to the River Forth and the North Sea in the east. And the addition of the Union Canal, that's the one we're sailing on now, in 1822, Glasgow and Edinburgh were linked by motorways. This all meant that unprecedented amounts of trade were now possible not only between Glasgow and Edinburgh, but also with the rest of Northern Europe and the world. In the 1830s, 200,000 people each year travelled between the two cities. One operator offered
The express service in just 7 hours would swift
there was, apparently, a sign projecting from the start of the boat that would cut to the total of any slow-moving vessels that refused to give way. Getting between the two canals still required the use of a lock system though. A few kilometres to the east of here, there was a flight of 11 canal locks with a fall of just over 3 metres each. Each had to fill with water in turn to raise traffic up the Union Canal so it could travel on to Edinburgh.
Myślę, że gdzieś tutaj
For a
będziemy
time, this was
zawracali.
the golden age of the canal, and waterways were almost the motorways of the day. But with the rise of the railways, the decline of the canal was almost inevitable. The closing of Grangemouth docks to the east of here as a security measure during the First World War heralded the start of the end. And by the 1960s, the canals were left abandoned, unused, and falling into disrepair. you'll notice that we're in a much different landscape now. More intimate, and certainly not quite such grand views as on the other side. When we turn around and run back through the tunnel, you'll appreciate the views from there, looking out over central Scotland from a scenic vantage point. But for a moment, enjoy the canal side section. The land around here is stunning and ready for exploration, if you're so inclined. From the visitor centre, there are 3 walks of different lengths exploring this area, including the remains of the Roman fort and the Antonine Wall. Ask for a map in the visitor centre, or you can hire a bike and make your way 6 kilometres east along the canal path to see the Celtic. 2 majestic 30-metre high sculptures of horse heads rising out of the water. These Celtic water horses are not only a link with the mystical mythology of Scotland, but are also a reminder of the vast numbers of horses
Już teraz
who
będziemy
worked
zawracali,
in the canal,
z powrotem
embarking
wpłyniemy do
years on
naszego tunelu, z którego
Today, we run our
wypłynęliśmy.
boats on diesel. Compared to days gone by, it means there's no horseways left by the side of the canal towpath anymore. And we can now travel faster and in almost all weathers too. You'll notice 2 more locks here. These take boats to the main level of the Union Canal, another 7 metres up, making the total height above our starting point 35 metres.
O, mamy
This
cię.
then runs as far as Edinburgh, which, if you were to sail there today, would take about 9 or 10 hours. But most people on a pleasure cruise do it over a couple of days. In fact, these locks were installed as part of the renovations to the canal system and the installation of the Falkirk Wheel. The original Union Canal ended some 2 kilometres further on from here,
Super
where the
przejażdżka.
flight of 11 locks carried canal traffic up and down between here and the Forth and Clyde Canal below. And from that level, 2 locks up from here, the Union Canal stretches all the way to Edinburgh without a single lock. It's a feat of engineering and construction, laid out by the canal's designer Hugh Baird in the 1820s. Despite the canal from Falkirk to Edinburgh being over 50 kilometres long, there is a fault of just 2.5 centimetres between either end, all designed without a computer. It's important to remember that we're on part of a canal network that stretches right across Scotland. And in recent years it's been growing in popularity, thanks in part to projects like the Falkirk Wheel. But there's also been a rise in the appetite from the public for enjoying our historic waterways. There are 22 million visits a year to our canals, with people
No,
enjoying
właśnie uderzyliśmy w bandę.
walkers,
Nabrzeże,
joggers and
jest
cyclists
wąsko
alike.
tutaj.
On the water, people enjoy canoeing and kayaking, and canal boat holidays are increasingly popular.
Welcome on board.
It can be great fun to charter a boat and explore the canal. Navigating up and down the locks is a little tricky at first, though you'll soon get the hang of it. But the canal boat holiday can also be very relaxing. Gentle pace of folk music can switch off from the pressures of modern life and slow right down. The body that cares for these waterways is called Scottish Canals, an agency of the Scottish Government. Any profit we make from activities on the canals, we put right back into caring for the system. It's our aim to make sure the canals are still here and being enjoyed by people in another 200 years.
Get that in a minute, you can see them.
The tunnel in front of you now, the runs under the Antonine Wall, is another part of what makes this place special.
Ale nas obija. Nabrzeże z jednej i z drugiej strony.
But it had to be excavated with utmost care, so as not to disturb archaeological remains
Ale powiem wam, że atrakcja niesamowita. Bilety po 13,50 od osoby dorosłej, funtów, ale atrakcja niesamowita.
But the real precision work is on the Falkirk Wheel itself, a feat of engineering and architectural design. It was the first rotating wheel to be built in the world, bringing the story of Scottish invention, adventure and world first right up to date. The sense of ambition and pride felt by the design team matches that of those engineers and canal builders a few centuries ago. While many see the wheel as a beautiful thing, it's often questioned whether its merits are as a piece of art or a piece of engineering. Tweaking the design of the Falkirk Wheel perhaps sweets it things.
The wheel is a fabulous physical solution to the problem of earthquake. They were driven by both the practical and the aesthetic.
When we get off here, I'll take a picture of this.
Of resistance, of weight and rotation. A wheel that still the enduring qualities of time. Precision engineering
When it does its thing, I'll
edge curves and movements are what
Powiem tak, jest światełko w tunelu, proszę Państwa, jest światełko w tunelu.
You might have wondered why we went to the trouble of creating the Falkirk Wheel. You'll remember that the two canals had fallen into a state of disrepair in the late 20th century, and they weren't used for transporting goods or people anymore. It might have been easier just to fill the canals in and forget about them altogether. But then, in the late 1990s, it was realised that the redevelopment of these waterways could create what became known as a corridor of opportunity right across the central belt of Scotland. And there were plenty of enthusiastic volunteers too, who wanted to see their local canal brought back to life rather than sitting there abandoned. The Millennium Link project saw these canals repaired and reopened, and at £84 million was Britain's most
Powolutku zbliżamy się
restoration
do
project
windy,
ever.
która nas opuści na dół.
In just 3 years, waterways were dredged, including removing 300,000 tons of silt, locks were replaced, 9 new locks built, and towpaths restored. There were also 35 new bridges and 5 kilometres of new canal. And it's been a huge success. Canal-side investment has gone through the roof. Over £400 million in the first decade alone, including 2,000 new waterside homes and 100,000 square metres of retail and commercial development. And very importantly for this region, 4,000 new jobs. All for a couple of canals. It's amazing to think what that kind of investment can do. But it wasn't possible to reopen the locks joining these two canals. They were filled in and now have blocks of wax built on them. So a new solution was needed, hence the Falkirk Wheel. Not only does it link the two waterways, but it gives us a chance to celebrate Scottish design and ingenuity once again. Okay, as we're coming towards the end of our time on this level, I just have time to share some of the facts and figures of the Falkirk Wheel. It was opened in May 2002 by Her Majesty the Queen, although she never actually rode it like you have today. There are 15,000 boats in structure, pressed into 45,000 boat ropes, and each one was tightened by hand. The two gondolas between them hold 1 million litres of water and can lift the weight of 100 elephants. And it does all that in just 5 minutes, using the power of a few electric kettles. Amazing, isn't it? If you were thinking of getting one for yourself, do be aware that the price tag comes at a whopping £20 million. We're heading back into the gondola now, so that we can rotate back down to the lower level, 25 metres below. This is a great place to take in the view if the Scottish weather has been kind to us today. You should be able to make out the Kelpies, Grangemouth and the Cranes at the further fork, along with the Ochil Hills and various other ranges. Your skipper might point some of these out to you as you descend. As we come to the end of this boat tour, it's impressive to think that the Falkirk Wheel wasn't actually built as a tourist attraction. There was no visitor centre here originally, and boat trips like these didn't take place. But people came to visit the wheel out of their own curiosity. They came from all over the world to wonder at this architectural and engineering gem. So we started running boat trips, and the Falkirk Wheel has gone from strength to strength. And now you visited too, and ridden this unique part of the Scottish landscape. Perhaps we should leave the last word for the time being to the wheel's designer, Tony Kettle.
The Falkirk Wheel appears to lift its head and take stock of its Scottish surroundings. It stands up proud and bold, emerging from the land as the skeletal frame of a long-lost prehistoric animal. This goes to Scotland and says, Scotland is old once more. The wheel reverberates with
Śleza się nam opuszcza
and the
pod
imagination
wodę i będziemy
that underpins the very
pływali w to ramię, które nas wyniosło do góry, a teraz będzie nas opuszczało w dół.
It stands as one monument, celebrating the past, but also what may be possible in the future.
Ramię pełne wody.
The boat moves into a gondola, which holds boats side by side. There are two gondolas on board,
Mało mówię, ale
which
jestem pod
always make
wielkim
the
wrażeniem.
same. Whether or not they carry their combined capacity of 600 tons, as the water contained within the
Wszystkiego,
gondola
no.
is displaced to compensate.
Troszeczkę może dzisiaj brakuje słońca, ale jak
The Falkirk Wheel is
słoneczko,
under
bo
the
jeszcze
operation of the
pięknie.
main control room of the basin, and safety procedures are closely monitored to ensure that the wheel cannot turn until all the steps required have taken place. To make the Falkirk Wheel ready to turn, two hydraulic steel gates are raised to seal off the gondola from the water in the canal basin. The water between the gates is then
Pływamy do
pumped out,
gondoli,
and a watertight seal which connects the gondola and the canal basin is removed.
która nas teraz tutaj
A hydraulic clamp and a series of securing pins, which prevent the arms of the wheel from moving while the gondola is docked, are now removed, allowing the Falkirk Wheel to turn. In the central machine bed, an array of 10 hydraulic motors begins to rotate the central axle, which is carried in bearings at both ends. The axle connects to the outer arms of the Falkirk Wheel, and this now begins to rotate slowly at a speed of 1/8 of a revolution per
zobaczy,
minute.
jak jesteśmy wysoko.
It takes around 4 minutes for the gondola to reach the top of the aqueduct, 25 metres above. The Falkirk Wheel can turn in a clockwise or anti-clockwise direction, and the choice over which way it turns is made by an operator in the control room. To reduce wear on bearings and other moving parts, the operator will evenly distribute the number of times the wheel turns in each direction. As the wheel rotates, the two gondolas are always kept in an upright position by a simple system of gears.
Zobaczcie, jak jesteśmy
Two
wysoko.
8-meter wide outer rings orbit the fixed in clockwise.
Przywiążą
Two
nas
smaller
teraz do
connect
boku.
the inner and outer rings together. These travel in the opposite direction to the outlines and distant shores of the two According to Archimedes' principle, floating objects displace their own weight in water. So when a boat enters the gondola, the weight of water displaced will equal the weight of the boat. This means that one gondola holding one or more boats will always weigh the same as an empty gondola, providing that the water levels are the same.
There's a green, see that green thing here? The house. So in the middle of the green wall, you go past that, it's like two white things sticking up.
Right, you all enjoyed that then?
Yep, yep.
Oh, just about 6 miles away. Right, I'll point out some landmarks and bits of these. The wheels here to the place 11 locks. And those 11 locks, they weren't taken away, they weren't destroyed, they just built them in and built into the flats on that. And those two flats that you can see just peering over the trees there, one's got a blue stripe, one's got a blue stripe. Right, so if you're parked in our car park, when you go back out, you actually pass them. That is where the original flight of the 11 locks is buried under. So if you weren't in the fantastic blue, you can actually see part of the locks. So this is a new part of the canal. This was an old car factory that burnt down. So locks 1 and 2 that you saw at the top there, which takes you onto the Union to Edinburgh, and our Jubilee locks here at the bottom, they're taking you onto the Falkirk Wheel. Right, we're taking down to Grangemouth to the Kelpies, left to Glasgow. They're new parts of the canal. And to put one boat through the 11 locks years ago would have taken roughly 6 hours at minimum. And losing tons and tons and tons of water all the time. Now for the same job that you've just experienced, it takes 15 minutes in total and we have no water at all. So a big difference. Lovely skyline of chimneys is Grangemouth, which chemical plant. And I'm saying you see 60 miles away. If you put your eye line further left, you see this hump of a hill in the far, far distance. Normally you can see smoke coming out of a chimney there, and a wee wind farm, and 2 wee buildings. That's Victoria and Frank, and that is 60 miles away. Right, the Kelpies, did you all get them, no? Yeah, everybody?
So is it just big left of that hole?
Yeah, but right, see where the green shop front?
Yeah.
And put your eye line right above that shop front, and nested just on top of the trees.
Yeah.
You see them? Duke's got his head down, and Barron's got his head up. Do you all know what a Kelpie is? No? Yeah? In Australia, Kelpie's a sheepdog. In Scotland, it's a mythical Scottish sheep bird, and it comes in the shape form of a horse. And the myth was it used to entice travellers onto their backs, and their backs were sticky, and the travellers couldn't get off. And they put them in the seas, rivers, logs, wherever they are, dive down to the deepest bit with them, and drown and eat them. Us Scots come out, we can eat them too. What? Stuart Ferguson's in our Loch Ness Monster as well, eh?
I'll just shut up the knife and walk you out.
hill further left, the big hill. What did you say it is now? Police hills. Police hills. We used to call them the Roman hills, but it's the police hills. And normally you see three pilots used to the top bit, and that was where rock formation.
Ci wszyscy na dole czekają na nasz szczęśliwy powrót.
There. Straight ahead of you, you've got our opal hills. We've got lovely opal hills. The one, you see the smoke, and then the hill behind that is the Maya. The Maya used to be an active volcano, and everything was that was still a castle wall, wasn't it, someone? With the walls monument over that was still it. On a good clearer day coming along that could be actually see all the walls monument from here. You don't really get to see much more. You normally you see Ben Lady, Ben Lomond, Ben Valur, and the Cobbler. They're more than 60 miles away. Just going outside, there's two villages, Denny and Bonnybridge, and I'm mentioning them for a reason, especially Bonnybridge. You should be a millionaire by now. But they've been in the Bonnybridge has been in the Guinness Book of Records for two things, and this is no joke. A few years ago, it was the most lottery winner. So I think that's all. I don't know what happened to him. So one of the questions we get asked a lot is, what are the boats that go through the system? Well, you're seeing two there now. There's 19 of them.
Takie ramię nas wynosiło do góry
That's already high bar.
i teraz nas opuszcza.
We have a charitable trust company called the Seagull Trust. They've got two boats. They're up there every day. They are just got this shame that they really suffered badly with COVID last year, but they feel a lot of restrictions. But mainly the holiday hire ones at the moment that are going up and down. They're every day as well. Friday and Saturday, this week will have more than 10 times it's just so busy. So you can see harder than that, but that's not the one between our trips and we saw it got polished and they done down. And you walk the shop to know, and it's Scotland, but one and only retained boat in the world, there is no cost for a boat to be put through. So, today, if you have your own boat, you must have an inland that's just more than halfway down, as you can see. The reason is the energy that the wheel uses is very, very little. Like I say, we can turn this wheel 40 times in a day and it does not cost us nothing at all. You can come in the morning and say, we can't make the first chance, and you then go. You just wait there for the energy that uses the electricity that uses. One of our guys worked it out one day, and this was a good few years before it. Roughly, quarter of 10 wheels. 10 hydraulics in there, 8 of them push it, 2 of them stop it. The big part is the everything balance on the wheel that has no reason to stop. So we had all the boats on the system and each one was so we came in, 55 tons of water. Another question we get asked about is, does the weather affect the wheel? January, February, March are the biggest times of the season, and it freezes a lot. We come in and it's not just in the wheel anymore. God knows what matters. There is half much the wheel to turn. Yeah, actually there's no out. We know it's the base and they call this the ice, but again, trans by the sun. So you just got to keep it across naturally. 2010 was a really bad year for Scotland. And we always close for months for maintenance, so the rain and base and the bottom that had up and the guys that worked on the wheel. And they were just about to do that in January. The wind speed, if it's over 45 miles an hour, it's like that, not just because it stays like that, the large block of the wheel will go over time. And the other one what happens is, you know, where you are, it's going to stop. in a water one time and one used to try to put the guy who just said no. And the other one was not there at the time, he said the head to the car. So they're like, it's not all of us. I was scary out there. And that's one of the reasons why if we was not allowed to go on the boat or on the wheel, which I think was 20 years ago, there's not to go on the wheel. Royal Security said it wasn't what they said was, what would happen if the wheel broke down halfway? That it never ever breaks down halfway. The wheel breaks down, and it's been wrong. It's normally when we start up, the wheel will be charged on the check part, and the way
No, jesteśmy na miejscu.